So here with Rene Joppi, the commercial director. The commercial director is your new role here at Mackwell. Rene, you're just in the process of moving over from Dubai, I believe. How's it going? I bet you've done a lot of air miles in the past month or two.
Well, very true. The last 12 months back and forth all the time. It's going well. I'm very excited to move to the UK. Even though Dubai was a very nice place to be, and I will miss it definitely. But I think it's very worthwhile to come to the UK, and I'm looking forward to be stationed here. It will take another couple of weeks, months, probably till I'm finally here, but looking forward to it.
Yeah. And obviously the nature of your role is you still have a lot of influence with the Middle East operation that Mackwell operates as well. So you'll be in Dubai as well. So you get
definitely. I think I will be for sure, I would say 1 to 2 weeks a month in Dubai. Still going forward the next couple of weeks and months. Though I'm trying to put new resources into the Middle East, which will help me to take over the role which I had in the Middle East and help me to support the market better in future, so I can focus more on the European and the UK market as well.
Of course. Could you tell us about, obviously you've made the Middle East office a real success. Can you talk us through how that came about, how your time with Mackwell came to be?
I was already in the Middle East for another light manufacturer. I was in the Middle East starting 3 years ago, 3.5 now. Then Mackwell, the opportunity came along, and it was a very exciting opportunity because it was actually building something from scratch. So I basically started by opening the office, putting a license for the Mackwell FCD company onto paper in the Middle East, which was a very exciting opportunity. And by doing that, we actually tried to create the brand name and enlarge the Mackwell brand in the market. And this is how I started there. And during the first 1.5, 2 years, we were able to get some great traction with clients and bigger companies, which made the growth in the Middle East.
Yeah, obviously it's been such a fast journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously it's been noticed by, this is part of the operation becoming that little bit more global, and you being a big part of that.
Yeah.
For a young man, I suppose it's been a big journey in the business.
It is definitely. I started in the Middle East and with this office, and I tried to focus on the big fishes, let me say it like this, and I was probably lucky a little bit as well to get one, and be honest, and this is how we grew the market in the Middle East significantly, which probably gave me also the opportunity to get a different kind of responsibility for the Mackwell company globally. And I'm happy to be having this opportunity and looking forward to taking it.
Yeah, and you're the commercial director. Just going through, you've got quite a wide reach of things that you need to do. Global, commercial, sales, product management, research, development, marketing. You're going to be responsible for all those areas. It's a big job, isn't it?
It is, but that makes it interesting. All the different areas have very different views on what is necessary or not, and what is the right way of doing or not doing. And my job is to balance it and try to get the best out of all departments to make it the best for the company as a whole. And with my background, I was in like 10 years back in the lighting industry. I was actually working as a service engineer. So I came really from the field work. Then I was a product manager. Then I was a head of marketing and product management, and so on and so on. So I went through these stations. So I feel I can add my opinion to it and help the teams doing the job.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously a commercial manager is only going to be as good as the products you can ultimately sell to the
100%.
market. Which of the products, both that are available now and upcoming, are really, really excite you, and you're really excited to sell them all?
Look, Mackwell is an emergency lighting company, and we were always focused on emergency lighting. So this is where we're good at, and this is where we'll keep our focus on. We have very, very exciting developments going on, which we are due to be launching in probably March, April, if everything goes right, which adds a whole new layer of intelligence into our products and into our platforms. Our traditional approach was more or less the OEM business from the UK base, but we are trying to divert more and more also into the export market, to the different end users and different companies. They're not so much in the UK because it's traditional OEM channels, so we won't be going much into other channels there. But going to our export businesses, definitely we're trying to bring new intelligence, new compliant products into the market. There was a recent change in compliance in Europe which is probably about 6 months ago now this came into place, which made a lot of products which are in the market actually non-compliant pretty much from one day to the next. And we see ourselves as kind of going in advance of the industry and trying to put as much knowledge and quality into the product as we can, paired with smart technologies into the product.
Yeah, I mean, it's intelligent interfacing, things like that, that react to situations, I think, as well, with some of the products that you've mentioned that you're going to be very excited about over the coming months. Is that right?
Yeah, but the intelligence we put in is really giving us the opportunity to actually know what's going on in the fitting while they're in use. So nowadays, or let's not say nowadays, but 5 years back, you put the emergency light or any light into a building, you installed it, and it was there. And as a company and a manufacturer, you didn't actually know how this was used, how often it was used, was it installed correctly, was it maintained properly. You didn't have this data in the past. But with nowadays technology and with the Internet of Things as a keyword going on, this becomes more and more viable. And this is exactly what we are working on, putting this kind of technology into the emergency lighting, which gives us the opportunity to actually draw down data of the usage and protect critical parts of the installation.
Yeah, so it's long-lasting solutions, also efficient solutions as well, which is obviously the buzzwords.
Yeah, I mean, the very key part of emergency lighting, when you talk about self-contained lighting, which means the battery is inside of the luminaire, is the battery, because this is the piece which is under stress most from environmental effects like temperature or humidity and these kind of things. And if this is not maintained properly, if you put an emergency light into an environment where the conditions are not correct, the emergency light will not last and will not do its purpose. So it will be not having the capacity needed to bring light for the amount of time necessary by the regulations. And by having the ability to diagnose and monitor this, we can make sure a building is and stays compliant throughout its lifetime.
Of course, you come back to compliance as well. I mean, you're working very closely with clients and offering them a service now where they know when changes in compliance are taking place. You mentioned earlier in the interview that people are becoming non-compliant, buildings are becoming non-compliant without knowing, and your clients are going to be kept up to date with that through these workshops that are running here.
Yeah, good keyword, workshops. It's one of our key strategies because of this wide array of products in the market which are and are not compliant, and because of the knowledge which is on a certain level, but it's not including very often the recent changes, what happens the last 6 months. By using the vehicle of workshops and trainings which we are going to implement and starting within probably also the next 2 months, we are trying to educate clients, partners, and everyone who is basically interested in how emergency lighting is done correctly and how you do it in the right way in order to achieve a compliant and safe building for everyone in the building.
Yeah, is it the vision of the company that you don't just buy a product from Mackwell or a service, it's through to being educated in a way of what is compliant and what the best system is for each particular situation?
That's exactly in the way we are looking at, because you can get a lot of things on the market. You can get from A to Z all kind of emergency luminaires, and some are very good without any doubt, some are not so good from a compliance perspective. They look like emergency lighting and they are looking like they're installed correctly, but when you go into the details they won't comply to the regulations and they are in a long term not safe. And this is something nobody wants to have. If you ask any owner of any building, well, they will say, no, I would not put unsafe emergency lighting into my building. The challenge we have here is that the consciousness about emergency lighting and the importance for safety is not that much there. I always use the example, what would you say if your fire extinguishers and your sprinkler system is not up to date? Yeah, and it will not extinguish the fire properly. Well, immediately everybody would say, yeah, well, I cannot do that. For emergency lighting, this consciousness is not yet there that much, but actually the effect of not having compliant emergency lighting or having emergency lighting that is not working properly is the same, because the building is dark and nobody will find their way out of the building, which leads to same kind of hazardous environments than, for example, if a sprinkler is not working.